I think a lot of ladies are making the mistake of listening to other women.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another collaboration, guys. Make sure you come through, subscribe, and hit the bell. And today, man, we have one of the really great upcoming YouTubers here in the space. But I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Go ahead, brother.
Man, what's going on, fam? Thank you, O'Shea, for the introduction, man. My name is Big Mike, man, and I am the host of the Big Mike Drop. So we're on YouTube now, man. We're getting into the social thing, talking about Black society and the problems that we face, and see if we can come with some solutions, man. So I appreciate you for having me on, brother.
All right, let's give him a round of applause, editors, for brother Big Mike. Big Mike, tell people before we get into today's topic, what kind of things does your channel deal with?
Man, well, I'm a history major, man. I majored in history and social sciences. So I have a passion for history. Of course, you see, fire your history teacher. You know, I'm big on doing your own research. So I like to try to take today's social issues and tie them back and give them some kind of historical perspective. History doesn't repeat itself, but history does rhyme. I think Mark Twain said that. So there's a lot of similarities and things that have happened before and things that we're going through now, and maybe we could draw some inference from that. So that's my goal on the channel.
Okay. Now, you're from the great city of Mobile, Alabama.
Mob Town in the building. Yes.
Mob Town. Okay. The last Mr. Big. Okay.
Oh, man.
Our brother Grown Man Business is still in Mobile, and he supposed to come on my show a long time ago, but he act like he's too good for me. That's my brother, though. Grown Man Business out of Mobile. He's a pretty popular YouTuber in the manosphere.
All right. Shout out to Grown Man Business.
What you told me something was very interesting. We were having a conversation, and I know you're a history buff, and you know, coming up in the Black community like I did, you know, women have always been able to do whatever they want to do, and men never say anything about it, or if we say anything about it, it's bad, right?
Right.
Did this kind of stuff happening back in the time in the days you grew up in Mobile, Alabama? Was the same way like that?
Man, I grew up around a lot of women, man. A lot of single women. Most of my homeboys, man, I say a good 70% of us, man, had the same setup at home. If there was a man, he was usually a stepfather, you know what I'm saying? So I have a great deal of respect for gentlemen who do step in and take care of other, you know, men's children, because I'm a product of that.
Okay.
But, you know, yeah, it's pretty much always been a matriarchal society in the South, I would say, especially during the earlier days of me growing up. A lot of big mamas, a lot of grandmamas, and you know, a lot of that influence.
Right, and just like, because my grandmother came to California from the South, so it was this, you know, the same people that were there. But Kevin Samuels,
yes,
you know, he has really changed the conversation on a global scale. We were talking about these things in small parts, but you're a married man, right? How long have you been married for?
I've been married almost 3 years. We're going on 3 years.
Going on 3 years.
Yes.
Now, your wife watches Kevin Samuels, right?
Religiously.
Okay.
Religiously. She puts me up on episodes I miss.
Okay. Now that's very interesting, because at first, what was your wife's first impression of Kevin Samuels' content?
I think the same as most women's first impression. I don't like the way he talking to her. You know, I think that was the very first thing. It's the way he comes off. You know, and then it went to, well, what he's saying is right, but how he's saying it is wrong. And then a person with any logic can't continue down that path of logic. You feel me? You know, you eventually have to be like, man, I got to give it up. What this dude is doing is building the community. This is helping. And shout out to the Godfather, man. You know what I'm saying? For real. For taking that on his shoulders, and you as well, and for creating the pathways for this information to get out here. I mean, it's important. We have to get our society back in line. So my wife understands that. She's more of a traditional type of woman. You know, as far as, you know, she works, has her career, and does what she does, you know, in the corporate world. But she's a very traditional wife.
Okay.
I mean, our house is set up traditionally, and I like that. And I think Kevin Samuels enriches this experience for us.
let me ask you a question, because you said that she has friends, that your wife has friends that either that don't like Kevin Samuels or they're not married. Now,
Right.
let's talk about that part.
Okay. Let's talk
How
about it.
how is it that, let's talk about does your wife have friends that don't like Kevin Samuels?
Yes, absolutely.
What's their perspective?
I think once again, in a lot of situations the truth hurts, and being confronted, it is a scary thing for a lot of people, especially a lot of women. I know a lot of men that are afraid of confrontation, especially being confronted with the truth about the situation. I think that in our community, accountability on both ends is something that we could work on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kevin brings it right to their front door. It's almost like the pastor reading your mail.
Right.
You know how they used to say the pastor reads your mail when you go in church?
Right.
You know, the what they say, the hoe in the church, sweating like a hoe in church.
Right.
So you get there, man, you're not gonna sit on the very front row and let the pastor pick you out of the crowd and start reading your mail. So you kind of duck in the back.
Right.
And I think a lot of there are a lot of beautiful sisters, man. She has beautiful friends. I mean, they're smart. And a lot of them have made mistakes, like all of us, but they need to be confronted with the truth. We can't be living in a state of denial. You're never going to get past that obstacle as long as you're denying that the obstacle's there.
You talked about mistakes, because I know you haven't since relocated to the Atlanta area.
Yes.
And me and you were in almost the same generation, in the same age group.
Yes.
What are the mistakes that you see that a lot of ladies are making but don't want the truth to be told about in our community?
I think a lot of ladies are making the mistake of listening to other women.
Uh-oh.
I think that's the biggest mistake, is listening to other women. Oftentimes not the right women. They're listening to the single friends, or they're listening to the women in their family that are, that are single, that have some kind of disdain for men or, relationships and whatnot. And I think that's the problem. People are just taking the wrong advice.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about this wrong advice, because when Kevin is, giving people the advice about, being what men really want, what kind of advice do you think that young women, or women in general, because our community just like anybody else, right, but what can you give me an example of what kind of advice you think these women are getting from other people?
I think they're getting the advice of striving for independence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, this impacts my family. I have nieces, and they're being raised by the women in my family. And, they're teaching these young girls to strive for independence. And I think that that's the wrong way to look at it. If you strive, say you're successful in being independent, that means you're by yourself at the end of the day. Am I wrong?
You're right.
And nobody wants to really be by themselves. We're not meant to be by ourselves in this world. Everybody needs somebody to cooperate with in order to make it through this journey. And I think that's the biggest key piece of wrong advice. I don't have a problem with young ladies, going to follow their career paths and whatnot, but look at how other races do it.
Right.
They get married, they're in college. They don't get put on this, they don't get put on this 8-year dating thing. You feel me?
Right.
And I don't want to get crass, man, but honestly, I think a lot of these women feel like by being promiscuous or dating a bunch of guys, this is another piece of bad advice, is that you need to kind of play the field, and they're getting the same advice that men are getting.
Right.
And that's, that's not good advice, because basically you understand that some things mold to the man that you're with. I'll just say that.
Uh-oh.
And if you're with multiple men, you're molding yourself multiple ways.
Right.
And why they have surgeries and things that can fix that, is a man really getting the goods that he deserves. Especially if you find a good man. I think that's one thing that women need to look at, especially young ladies who have the chance to not do this. 23, 24, you should be trying to get married and start your family. If you're in school, continue your education. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, wanting to enrich and enlighten yourself.
Right. So there's a difference. See, a lot, like, because you see your wife, she has education and doing well, but that doesn't stop her from respecting you and being a traditional wife.
Oh yeah, traditional wife, man, nothing but respect, which then allows me to respect her more and to look out for her more. I want to protect her more because we're reciprocating. It's just like bouncing, the energy field can't be disrupted.
Right.
And that's great stuff. She sent me something the other day, man, about men setting the tone for their household. And she thanked me for setting the tone. And and I thanked her for basically shaping the household around the tone I set.
Okay.
The tone I set, she then accommodates.
Okay.
So I want to be on peace. I want to be on peace. I want to build with her. I want to take this thing all the way to the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Let me talk to you about this because, you talked about a lot of women don't give the best of what a good man deserves. But I want to talk about one thing that Kevin Samuels and in the Black manosphere have talked about, which is there's a certain level of entitlement in Black America that is not seen in America in general.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of the things that we notice is that as men, we could talk about women are entitled, but since your wife watches Kevin Samuels every night, what does your wife say about the entitlement that Black women have towards Black men in America?
I'm gonna be honest. She hadn't really said much on that. That's something we're gonna have to talk about.
Okay.
That's one of those topics that we honestly haven't touched.
Okay.
But you and I could definitely touch on it because I feel like there's a sense of entitlement that's kind of it kind of wraps the culture in itself. And I don't know really where that comes from. I guess that's part of my path of inquiry on my show. Is trying to find out the root cause of this sense of entitlement because it's just it's a very destructive thing to have, especially in the world. You're a human being in the world. What are we really entitled to?
Let me talk about that because you mentioned that a good man, women don't, if they're molding themselves to different guys, they're cheapening themselves for what a good man deserves.
Yes.
But if you watch Kevin Samuels' show and even guys in the manosphere, it's almost like, who gives a shit about what these guys deserve? I'm not saying all women say this, but it seems to be part of a focal point. It's like it only matters what they deserve because I'm a woman that I deserve this. And a lot of guys who are not lucky as you don't have a good wife, brothers out there in the dating world, like, wait a minute, like, what do I get out of it, right? And that's a problem in the Black dating world. Yes. What do you think about women feeling that they should get, all these things for, in the man's point of view, from them doing nothing?
I think that's an unfair deal. And as Black men rise up and start to really take our position, we have to almost fight the women to get in the position that we need to be in to take our race into the future as a whole. So what they're going to find is that we're just not going to really fool with them. We're not going to fool with them. I mean, if you're not trying to be on my program,
okay,
we're not going to fool with you.
Right.
And we don't have to. We're not hard up like that anymore.
Okay. What do you mean when you say that? Explain that. What do you mean when you say that?
We're not hard up anymore, man. I mean, we make up a large proportion of Black men are in the middle class at this point in time. We're not all, stuck at the bottom like they would like people to believe. We have options. We have standards. And, a lot of women have them too.
What? Now, here's what I've seen. I don't know if your wife has noticed this, but in the Black society, one of the things I noticed is that women are not used to Black men being able to be competent and providing for themselves. Because maybe it's always been there, but not talked about. But now with the internet, it's clear to see that there are a lot of Black men. When COVID came around, Black men that were in certain trades, Black men that had certain skills and stuff like that. They were still doing pretty good. Right. But what you hear a lot of times from African American women is that I want a man to be 6'10". He need to have this. this amount of money, and all of these things. But what do you have? Oh, she got 3 kids, 4 different guys. Not all the time, but it's possible. Single mom. She don't, for the athletic type that she's looking to deal with, she's not that.
No, she doesn't match that, right?
Right. And when Kevin Samuels says you're average at best, it's a big deal. Does your wife notice that the ladies that are coming onto his platform are not the equivalent of what they're asking for?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like quickly, man, like really, she can hear certain women that come on and tell their story and tell what they're looking for, what they want. She'd be like, oh no, girl, you totally wrong. You can't get that. You're not even moving the right way to get that. Mm-hmm. It's like if there was a roadmap to get to where you wanted to be. I know there's a certain route I need to go to get to Mobile.
Hello.
I'm not getting ready to go northeast.
Right.
If I want to get to Mobile, I'm not getting
right.
We've laid out what the qualifications are, just like women have laid out what the qualifications are to be with them. I mean, things like, it switches with different people. Right. Some people, you're not going to cheat. You're not going to do this. You need to, at least take care of half of this or whatnot. Some people lay out their qualifications, but I feel like we lay out our qualifications.
Right.
It's not really up to anybody else to argue what my standards are with me. Does that make
exactly
sense? Like if I tell you I don't want this, there's no argument.
Right.
If I tell you that you are this to me, there's no argument. Now, maybe to somebody else, you might be, everything you want to be, but chances are you're not going to want that somebody else.
Right.
They want the 6-figure guys, the tall guys, which I got a little bit of that. I'm 6'6", so I mean, I can slide on the tall part. They might, but as far as matching a man's ambition in order to be a cooperative wife.
Right.
A lot of times they don't have that, and it upsets them that they don't have it, and they don't want the average brother like myself who's making, not making 6 or 7 figures a year.
Okay. Let me kind of dig on that, because the problem is that you mentioned that a lot of brothers that have money that are doing very well, they're not just going to accept anything.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this. For the men that because there was very few men that I knew that had like doing very well, right?
Right.
For the men that that are doing very well, are very successful, what kind of women are they dating, and what kind of standards do they accept?
I'm gonna be honest, man. A lot of men I know that are very successful, the top tier successful men are married.
Okay. Great point.
They're married. They have a nuclear family unit. They may have a couple of kids. They may not. But they have they have a helpmate there that's backing them, allowing them to increase their value out in the world. Mm-hmm. I like to think about it in terms of medical terminology. A lot of folks want the protein but don't have the amino acids. You feel me?
I like that one.
the family is the amino acid, man.
Hello.
And tell me if I'm wrong. The medical thing, but if I'm not mistaken, muscles are made out of protein. You gain strength from just having the basics. Mm-hmm. And a family is a very basic social structure. Mm-hmm. We have to get back to the point where we can maintain that, and where we actually want that. Mm-hmm. Like I said, a lot of people don't want it. They don't see the value in it.
Let me ask you this, because you've been married, for almost going on 4 years, right? Or 3 years or 4 years?
3 years. Going on
3 years.
Yes.
So your wife's friends, they don't like Kevin Samuels, but she does, and she's married.
Yes.
So do you feel that your wife's friends, that they want to get married, but they don't want to put in the work to get a husband?
I'm gonna be honest. I think that a lot of them have probably been poisoned. A lot of them have had past situations, and they've allowed their past to dictate their future. So it makes it harder for the next man when you're trying to carry out. It's like the old song "Bag Lady."
Okay.
You got too much baggage, and I really think that they don't even know where to start working at. They don't even know where to start working at. It's just a bunch of bags here. Where do we start?
Where do we start?
Organizing your closet. And I'm gonna throw shade at my wife because she threw shade at me for losing my shades on social media. So I'm gonna throw shade at her today. It's like this organizing the closet deal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, I have one closet out of a whole house that I keep everything in, and the rest of the closets are pretty much hers. And so we know that, hey, we need to, take some winter clothes out, pack them up, or whatnot, just to keep space and create space. And it's like when you get started, you don't know really where to start, so you just don't do it.
Let me ask you, this, because Kevin, there's a lot of people. And one thing I know about Kevin Samuels, number one, he has a massive fan base now.
Yes.
And I've seen the fan base kind of, elevate. So we had 100,000 subscribers, and then it was really just a really big black show.
Yes.
And to be honest, it relatively is a black show. There's definitely a lot of men who love Kevin Samuels. I even have personal friends. I know people in Africa that watch Kevin Samuels religiously. But here's what's so funny. Kevin Samuels has the one thing that's different from him and the manosphere proper, the black manosphere proper, is he has a huge female fan base.
Absolutely.
People think that women hate him, and they do. But when you look at his live stream and you look at the members, and I talked to him, he has also a consultation service. He does a lot of female client stuff. Women love Kevin Samuels. But I want to know to this, because do you feel that you're a guy who loves our community? Do you feel that Kevin Samuels is harmful to black women and what he's trying to say? Or do you feel that his intentions are to try to help them?
No, he's not harmful at all. I mean, if anything, he's doing more harm to himself trying to help.
Oh, why do you say that?
I'm not saying that from a standpoint that he's hurting his career or anything. I mean, just taking on the stress of that job in itself.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, he's doing God's work. Can I just say that?
Yeah. He's
doing God's work, man, and he has a big cross to bear, man, because people do hate him. But something funny happened the other day on his show. The Winter is Coming, the first one that he did. And the young lady that was being the most obtuse on the phone, she was ridiculous. I mean, not cooperating at all. And then when he got ready to hang up, she's like, "No, Kevin, don't go." So, they love him. They love him. They love the way he relates to them, the way he talks with them. And they really love the service that he's providing to them. Now, it's the feminists that don't like him. And for the most part, black women don't really get down with feminism. Have you noticed that?
That's an interesting point. Why do you say that?
Black women don't really get down with feminism, not on a wholesale basis. Not as far as feminism proper in the white woman standpoint. A lot of sisters are waking up to what that is.
Okay. What you may ask another. Take me deep into that. What are they recognizing what that is?
They're recognizing that it's harmful to black men, and believe it or not, a lot of sisters still love us.
Okay.
They love us so much that they hate us to a certain extent. What's the thing? It's a thin line between love and hate.
Right.
And growing up, man, I was always taught that love was the opposite of hate, or hate was the opposite of love. When really it's not. They're on the same parallel. They don't run parallel to one another. They're two opposites, two ends of a pole.
Right.
The parallel is indifference. If they totally didn't care, then they would subscribe to feminism. Now, there's some sisters out there that don't care about men in no shape, form, or fashion. They're totally indifferent to what we want. They're totally indifferent to our lives, whatever. And those are the true bred feminists. This hybrid form of feminism a lot of sisters are recognizing that it's destructive to what they really want. And that's where Kevin Samuels comes into play by pointing out those destructive characteristics and helping them move past that.
He can deliver in ways that they can appreciate. Because if it was a guy like me, I couldn't do it. I don't have the maybe the mentality. You know, my work is better done over here with black men and what I do.
Right.
Like Kevin Samuels is genius in the way that he can position things to women that even though he gets a lot of hatred for it, he knows how to deal with women on a different level than we do.
Yes.
Most guys would be very frustrated dealing with that. You know, if we were to get that kind of hatred, he also sometimes he might get a little bit out of character. But what is it the way that, I mean, Kevin Samuels is also teaching us, I think as men, how to talk to women that have an opposite opinion and get through to them. What is so special? What do you think? How Kevin can deliver information to a woman that most men can't?
It's the way he presents it, man. And he actually used this term the other day. He's the benevolent dictator.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I understand what he's saying. I don't take any offense when, you know, and of course I'm not a woman, but I don't take any offense when he says, you know, women are like children, or should be like, you know, be like children, not act like children, but be like children. He means that in the sense of not that I'm going to subordinate you as a child, but I'm going to offer you the same protections I would my child. But there's also a framework in which that's going to work, and that's my way, you know.
Right.
And I'll compromise from time to time because I might not always be right.
Exactly.
But when it's time to make that final decision, the benevolent dictator, Kevin is smooth. First of all, he dresses good. You know what I'm saying? And he talks well to women. He doesn't get all, you know, aggressive, and, you know, his voice doesn't really carry. He's soft spoken, you know, but he carries a big stick. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like me, I'm loud, I'm brash, you know, my voice carries. A lot of times I get, you know, pegged with having an attitude or yelling when I'm really not yelling. I'm just talking and my voice is just carrying.
Right.
You see, so, you know, a lot of times the communication lines of somebody put up a wall real quick with me. If I was talking to women, because I'm going to come off a little bit more brash.
Right.
I think him being able to add a little bit of honey with the vinegar. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit of honey with the vinegar, man, cut it.
Right.
I take my apple cider vinegar shots every morning, man. So I know I put a little honey in there and just kind of it cuts it a little bit, man. But at the end of the day, regardless of how bad it tastes, I know it's good for me.
Right. That's a very good. I like how you put it together. Right. And that's what Kevin is. He's like honey with apple cider vinegar, and no matter what he's doing is good. And I'm glad that, you know, your wife has watched it. I mean, none of us have even talked to somebody. I mean, and now Brother George Macon, his wife, watches it too now. She didn't like Kevin Samuels either, but she watched, like, you know what? He's right. I don't like the way he says it sometimes.
Right.
But he's right. He's 100% right. We know that he's right because we was talking about it. Well, black men been talking about this kind of stuff. Let me ask you this. You know, when you was growing up in Mobile, you know, black men talked about things like in barbershops all across the country.
Yes.
Were these certain things that black men talked about? Okay.
Yeah. We've always had the Black Country Club, or what you know, the barbershop or whatnot. And I'm gonna be honest, it started changing when more single mothers started staying with their little boys that they would have to bring to the barbershop. I think the barbershop isn't as secure as it used to be as a form of, you know, as our little, you know, thing, as our thing.
Right.
Because you have so many fathers who, you know, aren't really grabbing their kids and taking them to the barbershop. The mothers are having to show up with these little kids. And then they sit in there. It changes the whole vibe. It changes the nature of the conversation. And it changes what you really get out of that. You know, for lack of a better term, that was our Cosa Nostra. You know,
right.
You know, that
this little thing of ours.
You know, so you know, even from like the girls wanting to come out in the woods to the fort back in the day. You know, I grew up in the, you know, going out in the woods and doing outdoor stuff. You know, tree houses and stuff like that. And, you know, the girls weren't allowed in the fort.
Okay, so let me ask you this, man, before we close out, man. Tell people, you know, as we're talking about this, you know, Why should somebody subscribe to your channel, man? Tell them why they should subscribe to you.
Man, you should subscribe to the Big Mike Drop channel because we're going to have the conversations. We're going to have the rough conversations. You can call in and drop your opinion even if you disagree. I'm not afraid of trolls. I'm not afraid of engaging people. So, you know, all I want to do is open up and create a space, a safe space for us to have these discussions, and then we have to put it into action. So I could tell you the information. Me and Ronnie, my co-host Ronnie, we can get you the information, but at the end of the day, it's still up to you what you do with it. But we are going to have the information here. So check us out.
All right, guys. I definitely thank the brother for coming on.
Yeah,
giving us a hell of a show. It was really entertaining. Guys, go to the first comment pinned to the top. Check out the Big Mic Drop. You know, we'll put it there, the first comment pinned to the top. And guys, I really, really thank you for your support. Thank you for watching the show. Make sure you go check out Big Mic Drop YouTube channel. Tell them that O'Shea Duke Jackson sent you. Let's get to the brother to 1,000 subscribers and get them over there. As you guys know, the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. I'm out.